Haribol, namaste. Thank you again for joining me. My name is Janapati Das, and we are going to read again from the Krishna book. But we are now going to start with a little bit of kirtan, like we normally do. And I was reading a little bit of Lord Chaitanya's prayer. I was saying it. All glories to the hearing and chanting of Krishna's names, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated together. This hearing and repeating of Krishna's name is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all knowledge. It's all purifying, and it helps extinguish the fire of conditional life. The fire of conditional life. And why do we say that's a fire? The fire is because our life in this material world is very much like burning, like a painful burning sensation because of our lusty desires to control and enjoy. And the hearing and chanting of Krishna's name is like a salve, like a cooling salve, just like the cooling benediction moon upon this anguish and misery that we experience in this material world. It actually gives us a taste of what we are always anxious for. It says, Lord Chaitanya says, it gives us a taste of the nectar for which we are always anxious. The nectar is this beautiful, wonderful, beautiful tasting drink, right? That is just all healing. And this is why we're going to do this hearing and chanting Krishna's names. It is a prime benediction. It is very easily and joyfully performed. It's not a difficult meditation to do. So we're going to hear and we're going to chant Krishna's names. Let me offer my respects to all of you. And I would like to take the time to offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual teacher, Jagat Guru, Siddhaswarapunanda Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada, and His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is my spiritual grandfather, or the spiritual master of my spiritual master. Without their mercy, I would not have any knowledge to be able to teach you what I'm teaching you tonight and on these videos. What I'm teaching you is nothing that I've concocted in my head or come up with, or just sort of Googled and looked around on different YouTube sites and just kind of came up with my own way of thinking. It is a transcendental knowledge that has been handed down since time immemorial, straight from Krishna himself through a disciplic lineage of teachers to students. So this, everything I'm telling you right now has been taught for thousands and thousands of years, if not longer. So I'm handing it to you. You can teach it as well if you apply the process. So let's chant. I'll get the chords right. Something else. I'm trying to do Nirvana, but I can't remember the chords. It's okay. That's what happens. I like to keep the videos just kind of real here. I'm not going to edit that out. Namah Vishnudaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Sriswarananda Paramasa Itinamine Namah Vishnudaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Sriswarananda Paramasa Itinamine Vaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Okay, namaste. So, we're back in our story again, reading from the Krishna book. And we are reading from chapter 8, titled The Vision of the Universal Form. We actually hadn't gotten into that particular story of the Krishna book. We had actually had the part where Gargamuni oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, Gargamuni, well, that was a little bit before, but Gargamuni, the spiritual master, the Brahmana who did the naming ceremony for Krishna and Balaram, came and did a very sort of conspicuous ceremony so that the Kamsa would not really know that Krishna was actually staying in Vrindavan under the care of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. And we also talked about Krishna and Balaram and their wonderful childhood pastimes starting now as they are getting older, and how they used to cause mischief going here and there and peeing on the floor, and just like kids do, and causing mischief to, holding the calf's tail around and getting pulled around, or breaking butter pots and stealing butter and giving it to the monkeys, and so many wonderful things. But as we were saying last time, normal children in the material world, when they do that, you just think, oh my God, why do these parents don't chastise these kids? They're really poorly behaved. What a brat. But with Krishna and Balaram, because we engage in this Krishna Katha of hearing about the Supreme Lord and his expansion, Balaram Shankarshan, living on their pastimes here in Vrindavan. It's so wonderful, and you feel it in your heart how sweet and wonderful it is that they're doing all these naughty things. And you just laugh, because when Krishna does things, it's wonderful. Another day when Krishna and Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That is our prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Offering my respects to respectful obeisances under the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Another day when Krishna and Balaram were playing with their friends, all the boys joined Balaram and told Mother Yashoda that Krishna had eaten clay. On hearing this, Mother Yashoda caught hold of Krishna's hand and said, "My dear Krishna, why have you eaten earth in a solitary place? Just see, all your friends, including Balaram, are complaining about you." Being afraid of his mother, Krishna replied, "My dear mother, all these boys, including my elder brother Balaram, are speaking lies against me. I have never eaten clay. My elder brother Balaram, while playing with me today, became angry, and therefore he has joined with the other boys to complain against me. They have all combined together to complain, so you will be angry and chastise me. If you think they are truthful, then you can look within my mouth to see whether I have taken clay or not." His mother replied, "All right, if you have actually not taken any clay, then just open your mouth, I shall see." When the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was so ordered by his mother, he immediately opened his mouth, just like an ordinary boy. Then Mother Yashoda saw within that mouth the complete opulence of creation. She saw the entire outer space in all directions, mountains, islands, oceans, seas, planets, air, fire, moon, and stars. Along with the moon and the stars, she also saw the entire elements, water, sky, the extensive ethereal existence, along with the total ego, and the products of the senses and the controller of the senses, all the demigods, the objects of the senses like sound, smell, etc., and the three qualities of material nature. She could also perceive that within his mouth were all living entities, eternal time, material nature, spiritual nature, activity, consciousness, and different forms of the whole creation. Whoa, mind blow. Yashoda could find within the mouth of her child everything necessary for cosmic manifestation. She also saw within his mouth herself taking Krishna on her lap and having him sucking her breast. Upon seeing all this, she became struck with awe and began to wonder whether she was dreaming she were dreaming or actually seeing something extraordinary. She concluded that she was either dreaming or seeing the play of the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She thought that she had become mad, mentally deranged to see all those wonderful things. Then she thought, it may be cosmic mystic power attained by my child, and therefore I am perplexed by such visions within his mouth. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose energy bodily self and bodily possessions are conceived. She then said, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, under whose illusory energy I am thinking that Nanda Maharaj is my husband and Krishna is my son, that all the properties of Nanda Maharaj belong to me, and that all the coward men and women are my subjects. All this misconception is due to the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord. So let me pray to him that he may protect me always. While Mother Yashoda was thinking in this high philosophical way, Krishna again expanded his internal energy just to bewilder her with maternal affection. Immediately, Mother Yashoda forgot all philosophical speculation and accepted Krishna as her own child. So Mother Yashoda was having these realizations about who Krishna was, and just, whoa, I gotta start, Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, I need to pray and honor, reverence. And Krishna doesn't like that. Krishna wanted to get some milk, so he extended his Yoga Maya to influence again Yashoda, that she would forget all the stuff that she was just thinking about. She took him on her lap and became overwhelmed with maternal affection. She thus began to think Krishna is not understandable to the masses through the gross process of knowledge, but he can be received through the Upanishads and the Vedanta or mystic yoga system and Shankar philosophy. Then she began to think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as her own begotten child. Certainly, Mother Yashoda had executed many, many pious activities as a result of which she had got the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as her son who sucked milk from her breast. Similarly, Nanda Maharaj also must have performed many great sacrifices and pious activities for Lord Krishna to become his son and address him as father. It is surprising that Vasudeva and Devaki did not enjoy the transcendental bliss of Krishna's childhood pastimes, although Krishna was their real son. The childhood pastimes of Krishna are glorified even today by many sages and saintly persons, but Vasudeva and Devaki could not enjoy such childhood pastimes personally. The reason for this was explained by Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit as follows. So you remember that there is these stories in the Srimad Bhagavatam. A lot of the situations are stories within stories within stories. In a lot of the cases, people are learning about the truth from a spiritual master. And in this case, we were talking previously about, I don't know, maybe it was several videos ago, about Maharaj Parikshit, who was the grandson of Maharaj Yudhisthira. He was a highly elevated and wonderful king, but because of some kind of situation where he actually went to go see a sage, and the sage was in meditation and completely in trance, and Maharaj Parikshit came in and was calling to him, and he didn't answer, and so he got mad and put a dead snake on the shoulder of the sage. Well, the son of the sage didn't take it personally, because he knew that this was all part of Krishna's arrangement. But the son was angry and not very spiritually elevated to see that Maharaj Parikshit was also a highly spiritual king. Cursed Maharaj Parikshit to die, to be bitten by a snake bird actually, in 7 days. So Maharaj Parikshit, realizing that the curse was going to go through and that was fate, had actually decided to go meditate on the bank until he just left his body, or whatever happened to him happened. But then he was advised to try to find out he thought, I should find out the absolute truth. So he inquired around, who is the most elevated pure devotee that I can learn from? And people immediately said Shukadeva Goswami. And Shukadeva Goswami was the son of Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva, of course, was the one who wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Sukadeva Goswami instructed Maharaj Parikshit, and Maharaj Parikshit asked this question about why was it that, in previous lives of Vasudeva and Devaki, they had been able to have Krishna in the particular incarnation or whatever as their son, but in this life they weren't able to do it, and this is what is explained why Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda are actually acting as the parents and get to enjoy Krishna's pastimes and not Devaki and Vasudeva. When the best of the Vasus of the name of Drona, along with his wife Dara, were ordered to increase progeny by Lord Brahma, they said unto him, "Dear father, we are seeking your benediction." Just see my time here. Drona and Dara then took benediction from Brahma that in the future, when they would take birth again within the universe, the Supreme Lord Krishna in his most attractive feature of childhood would absorb their whole attention. Their dealings with Krishna would be so powerful that simply by hearing of Krishna's childhood activities with them, anyone could very easily cross over the nescience of birth and death. Lord Brahma agreed to give them the benediction, and as a result, the same Drona appeared as Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan, and the same Dara appeared as Mother Yashoda, the wife of Nanda Maharaj. In this way, Nanda Maharaj and his wife, Mother Yashoda, developed their unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, having gotten them as their son. And all the gopis and cowherd men who were associates of Krishna naturally developed their own different feelings of love for Krishna. Therefore, just to fulfill the benediction of Lord Brahma, Lord Krishna appeared along with his plenary expansion, Balaram, and performed all kinds of childhood pastimes in order to increase the transcendental pleasure of all the residents of Vrindavan. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 8th chapter of Krishna, Vision of the Universal Form. We're early into this, so we can actually dive in a little bit more into our... it's a good story though, but I guess it's kind of long, so we probably will, it's better to start it now. And this is actually a very famous story in the Krishna book. Not all of the stories are famous, but this is a wonderful story. And it's entitled Mother Yashoda Binding Lord Krishna. Once upon a time, seeing that her maidservant was engaged in different household duties, Mother Yashoda personally took charge of churning butter. And while she churned butter, she sang the childhood pastimes of Krishna, enjoyed thinking of her son. So the people in Vrindavan were Vaishyas, and we talked about the different systems of, I'm just drawing a blank there, Varna systems, right? You have the Vaishyas, the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas. The Vaishyas were oftentimes involved in agricultural or tending cows. They worked as farmers, and this is when the merchants, and they sold their things. So the people in Vrindavan had lots and lots and lots of cows. Cows are very auspicious, like we were saying, like we talked about in the previous video. They're very auspicious for society, so it is not very strange to see so many problems in our modern day society because of the way we treat cows. And as I once said, Bhaktivedanta Swami once, when asked about Vietnam and what he thought about Vietnam, he said, as long as there are slaughterhouses for animals and cows, there will be slaughterhouses for humans. Pretty heavy statement. But this is the importance of how we treat animals, which are other living entities in bodies of animals, and also, most importantly, cows, how we treat cows. Cows are very auspicious, and they're considered to be one of the 7 mothers. So here they have a situation of butter. They have lots of milk, they have yogurt and butter, lots and lots of milk products. The end of her sari was tightly wrapped. Sari is a dress, right, that wraps around women. Was tightly wrapped, and while she churned on account of her intense love for her son, milk automatically dripped from her breasts, which moved as she labored very hard, churning with 2 hands. The bangles and bracelets on her hands tinkled as they touched each other, and her earrings and breast shook. There were drops of perspiration on her face, and the flower garland which was on her head scattered here and there. Before this picturesque sight, Lord Krishna appeared as a child. He felt hungry, and out of love for his mother, he wanted her to stop churning. He indicated that her first business was to let him suck her breast and then churn butter later. Mother Yashoda took her son on her lap and pushed the nipples of her breast into his mouth. And while Krishna was sucking the milk, she was smiling, enjoying the beauty of her child's face. Suddenly, the milk, which was on the oven, began to boil over. Just to stop the milk from spilling, Mother Yashoda at once put Krishna aside and went to the oven, as we've already seen. Something Krishna doesn't like to do. Don't put me down. Left in that state by his mother, Krishna became very angry, and his lips and eyes became red in rage. He pressed his teeth and lips, and taking up a piece of stone, he immediately broke the butter pot. He took butter out of it, and with false tears in his eyes, he began to eat the butter in a secluded place. In the meantime, Mother Yashoda, returning to the churning place after setting the overflowing milk pan in order, she saw the broken pot in which the churning yogurt was kept. Since she could not find her boy, she concluded that the broken pot was his work. She began to smile as she thought, "The child is very clever. After breaking the pot, he has left this place, fearing punishment." After she sought all over, she found a big wooden grinding mortar, which was kept upside down, and she found her son sitting on it. He was taking butter, which was hanging from the ceiling on a swing, and he was feeding it to the monkeys. She saw Krishna looking this way and that way in fear of her, because he was conscious of his naughty behavior. After seeing her son so engaged, she very silently approached him from behind. Krishna, however, quickly saw her coming down at him with a stick in her hand, and immediately he got down from the grinding mortar and began to flee in fear. Mother Yashoda chased him to all corners, trying to capture the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is never approached even by the meditation. Oh, we got some fireworks. Never approached, but even by the meditations of great yogis. In other words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who was never caught by the yogis and speculators, was playing just like a little child for a great devotee like Mother Yashoda. So this is a really important point, that so much of our modern day thought, philosophy, and science is based on speculation and philosophy a lot too. People sit around, it could be this, it could be that, what if this and what if that, and if we did this, we could do that. And so in that kind of thought is very opposite of transcendental knowledge, of receiving transcendental knowledge. And as we've said before, we receive transcendental knowledge and through a process, and that process is a descending process and not an ascending process. When most forms of thought in the modern day world are ascending processes. In other words, I can use my mind to reach the absolute truth, which is not true. You can never know the absolute truth through ascending processes. And even if there were cases, and in some cases, a very, very, very rare cases, it's an extremely long and difficult process. In this day and age of Kali Yuga, you can't do it because of the nature of the mind, the short attention span of the mind, and just the sheer stupidity of people in this age. So that we receive our knowledge. In other words, the hearing and chanting of Krishna's names helps clear the heart and clear the mind, so that you can receive the knowledge and apply it in your life, and therefore have the realization within your heart of what is the absolute truth. In other words, when you hear something, you don't just say, okay, I'm accumulating all these things and I'm going to put them together and that's what I'm going to believe, which is a lot of the way we learn things in this day and age. We read things, we try to ascend by putting all these things together, and this is what I believe and this is my opinion, and this kind of knowledge is not the way you receive transcendental knowledge. Transcendental knowledge, you apply the process, just like you take a medicine. You take a medicine if you have an illness. You can't just say, okay, I've had cancer and I'm just going to think my way out of cancer. No, you have to take medicine, or if you have a sickness, you have to take a medicine that's given to you, and that medicine is the hearing and chanting, Shravanam Kirtanam, the hearing and chanting of Krishna's names, Krishna Katha, and then receiving the information from a bona fide devotee of Krishna. And in that process, you of hearing and chanting, you can experience what the guru, what the spiritual master is saying, or what you're hearing in scripture, and you confirm it in your heart. Yes, the Lord in my heart, the Paramatma, the expansion of Krishna in my heart, is also saying, yes, this is true, this is true. So we don't just take anything really lightly. There is a process. You have to have a little bit of faith of applying it, but there is no like, oh yes, I believe, you can come, you can ask questions, you can inquire about the absolute truth. If you have something in your mind that you're trying to figure out, just like Arjuna did in the case of the Bhagavad Gita, or like I was saying, Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami, he asks questions, he considers it, he takes it into his heart, and then you find, yes, that is actually true. So if somebody comes to you and they're saying something and it's not confirmed within the scriptures, and it's not confirmed within the Lord in your heart, they're just saying, you can be God, and you read, you're like, where does that say that I can be God if I just meditate, like these impersonal or Mayavadi philosophers oftentimes teach? It's not there. So anyway, we're gonna consider here a little bit more. Mother Yashoda, however, could not easily catch the fast-running child because of her thin waist and heavy body. Still, she tried to follow him as fast as possible. Her hair loosened, and the flower in her hair fell to the ground. Although she was tired, she somehow reached her naughty child and captured him. When he was caught, Krishna was almost on the point of crying. He smeared his hands over his eyes, which were anointed with black eye cosmetics. The child saw his mother's face while she stood over him, and his eyes became restless from fear. Mother Yashoda could understand that Krishna was unnecessarily afraid, and for his benefit, she wanted to allay his fears. And this story will go on, and we're actually running out of time here, so I'm going to stop it here. There's a lot of things that we were mentioning here, that Mother Yashoda is a dear, most devotee of Krishna, a pure lover of Krishna, who's been able to come into this world and act out in the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So when he says that topmost yogis and speculators can never catch, so many people try to catch the Supreme Lord, or an atheist is like, if God exists, where is he? Show him to me, show him to me. They're like trying to, like they can climb a mountain, because Krishna is a supreme person. He's a person. It's not just a concept. He's not a mountain that you can hold on to. In the sense that you try to capture him with your mind, or you try to capture him with your demands. It's a loving relationship. Just like if you met somebody that you really were attracted to, and you said, you're going to marry me. You're going to love me. I'm going to hold on. You're grabbing this girl, or whatever. It's like, no, you have to have a relationship. You have to interact with this person. You got to get to know them. You got to understand what they like. And that is usually done by somebody who also, through the same process, has learned about the Supreme Person and has a loving relationship with the person. It's like, if you want to know, like if you had your father had died when you were really young, and the best person who would know it would be your mother. Your mother would say, oh yes, he liked this, he was this way, he liked these kind of things. You can't just read a book or just think, oh, this is what my father is like. No, you have to go to somebody who knows, and that's the pure devotee of Krishna, or the lover of Krishna in a disciplic lineage can tell you this is what Krishna is like. So this is a whole process. It's a wonderful process, and it's wonderful because all you have to do is try it. You don't really even have to believe anything in it. You just come, okay, I'll chant, I'll listen to the chanting, I'll come to hear it, I'll consider a few of these things, I'll have questions. And so in my videos here, we do have a comment section in the YouTube video. If you have some questions about what you don't understand anything, or there's something you don't understand that I said, please ask in the comment section and I'll try to get back to you on it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to chant some more, and that'll be all for today. Thank you very much. Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Vistaya Buddhale Srimate Swarupananda Paramamsa Iti Namini Namah Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Vistaya Buddhale Srimate Swarupananda Paramamsa That is all for today. So we'll see you next time. Stay tuned.